Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Well, first, welcome to the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. I thank you all for being here this evening. Please continue to treat yourself to the refreshments. We have drinks over there. We wanted to set the tone of a rather informal gathering with all of us so we can gather and network. So feel free during the presentations and during our discussion to get up and, get refreshments if you feel like you might have had something and you want to get another one. Don't hesitate. Just go and, grab some refreshments. But before we get started, since we are in the boardroom, can everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Flags over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. For those of you that I have not met, my name is Carrie Steele, and I am president of the Board of Commissioners at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. It's a pleasure to see so many of you here to celebrate the district's annual Women History Month celebration. I would like to recognize my colleagues who are present this evening. Our Director of Finance, Commissioner Marcelino Garcia. Our Vice President, Kimberly Neely Dubuclet. Commissioner Teresa Flynn. And Commissioner Ada Corral Sepulveda. I would also like to take this opportunity before I forget to thank our staff and Public Affairs Department for helping us put together this gathering this afternoon. So we are here today to celebrate Women's History Month, and the national theme is Women Who Tell Their Stories. This event is designed to uplift, outreach, and engage businesswomen of distinction. And for those of you that do not know my story, I'll start by sharing mine. I was first elected to the Board of Commissioners in 2012, and I am in my second term as MWRD Commissioner, and I'm actually in my third term as President. So our commissioner terms are 6-year terms, but then the president election is an internal vote, and that's for 2 years. So I'm just starting my third term as president of the Board of Commissioners. But my career path began right here at the district. While I was going to college, trying to acquire my chemistry degree, I would work here every summer as a lab tech and as a water sampler. Then, once I graduated, I worked for the water department as a water chemist and eventually left there, got a little bored with water just for a minute. I left there and formulated hair care products for L'Oreal USA, and that's when I got the bite of the political bug and decided to run for office. But I ran for office not only because I was impressed by the district and everything they did here, because we have such awesome staff, but also my experience at the district was great. So I could definitely see myself, once I found out that it was an option to be an elected official at the district, I definitely could see myself running for that position. So that's what I did, and fast forward to where we are now, that's really my story and how I ended up here. It might seem like it was planned or everything came full circle, but actually that's exactly how it worked out. And Fredrina, Judge Lau, you're smiling over there, and I can't help but look at you because she was the first person. I was chairman of the 6th Ward Young Democrats, and she was the first person that actually told me, what do you think about running for commissioner at Water Rec? So part of this is I always blame her. It's her fault. So as of December the 31st, the district employs 441 women in many important fields. Now, our total number of employees is close to 1,800. So that's a pretty good percentage of females who work here at the district. 40% of our female workforce are officials, managers, and professionals. 13% are technicians. 3% are protective services. 17% serve as administrative support. 8% are skilled crafts, and 15% work in service and maintenance. We always work hard to try to spread awareness about MWRD and career options, because everyone knows that this technical space and the water profession is a very male-dominated field. But our numbers are increasing every year, and we're hoping as we have, events and we go out to community events, we can spread awareness about MWRD to keep increasing those numbers of female employees. Whenever I look at the district historical photos, you always notice there are like no women in the photos. But I'm happy to say that we have come a long way in our 134 years. Ladies, employees here this evening, I appreciate your work, and you make the district the leading environmental organization and best place to work in Cook County. So we thank you for your hard work, and I want to give you all a round of applause. And now we'll jump into our program. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Nikki Hayes, who owns and operates Pier 31, the first Black-owned restaurant and bar on the 18-mile lakefront. And among her many other successes, she was also appointed to the inaugural Cook County Small Business and Supplier Diversity Commission in March 2019. I won't get into everything about why we think Nikki is so great, because this is her opportunity to tell her story to us, because we're celebrating everyone being able to tell their stories. So without further ado, please, Nikki Hayes, come up and share your story.
Good evening. I would like to thank the Water Reclamation Department, President Steele, all the commissioners and employees that are here today. I also want to have special thanks to my children's father, foreman of truck drivers, Mark Hayes. He has been here for 26 years. Although we didn't get marriage right, we are perfect parents. Of 3 children, Shauna, Kennedy, and Lincoln. And so the water reclamation is near and dear to me because it has been a part of my adult life when Mark started here right before we had our second child. So I know this organization well. It is an honor to be here today. I was the former president of Labor's Local 1001. That is over the Labor's International Union of North America. I was the only female in the Midwest of North America that served for that union as president. It was a very trying and struggle to be there. There would only be, I was the only female, and there'll probably be only 3 other guys in the whole country that looked like me. I formally retired about a year ago with 28 years. It has been great. It has been a struggle. It has been great for my family, being at Labor's Local 1001. And now I'm looking for something else and something new to do because I'm still young. I still feel young. I still look young. I ain't hear y'all. Whenever you're asked to speak at any event, you start to reflect on your life and how you got here. And one of those reflections was when I was younger, I used to dream about being in rooms like this. Not so much the structure of the room, but the people that sit in it. The presidents, the CEOs, the CFOs, et cetera, the individuals that made the organization work. As you sit here before me, I still question, how did I get here? What blessed me to be here? Because I was a teenage mom, and statistically, some say that I'm not supposed to make it. I am supposed to continuously struggle for the rest of my life. But being a teenage mom allowed me to strive harder, more than anyone that was sitting on the left or the right of me. I still struggle every day wondering if I'm doing enough for me, if I'm doing enough for my children, if I'm doing enough for my family, and if I'm doing enough for the people that are in my life, especially the women in my life. But with the reflection I'll leave you with today is that I am doing the work. I do the work every day, from the start of the early morning phone calls to late at night. I continue to do the work for people that look like me, feel like me, think like me, and are me. You are my inspiration. I'm excited to celebrate Women's History Month. With you, I've been the first of many institutions, organizations, my job, my restaurant, but I could not have done it without the many women that hold me accountable. They hold me down every day, no matter where I am. Where's Judge Lowell at? I would like to thank you. Thank you, Carrie. This has been an honor for me, a great experience. Dolores has been the best walking me through this whole process. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nikki, and thank you for sharing your story. We now would like to give you a resolution and some flowers that are slowly coming around the corner. And if you can, we'll step right over here and take a quick picture, and then we'll continue with our program. We will now hear from a variety of speakers this evening. And following the individual presentations, our speakers will be available at their designated tables in the back of the room to answer any questions you all might have. Please visit any of the tables for more information, and then we'll also all network. We have different business owners in the room, so I encourage you all to network with each other and share your cards or your brochures and information as well. And remember also to share your stories, to uplift, engage, and outreach. Now, the topics and presenters include How to Do Business with the District, presented by Darlene Lacasio, MWRD's Director of Procurement and Materials Management. We also will have Rich Martinez Jr., MWRD's Acting Diversity Administrator. We also will have Financial Considerations in a Corporate Environment, presented by Reverend Dr. Robbie Craig. We'll also have Health and Wellness, Work-Life Balance, presented by Reverend Dr. Angela Swain. And last but not least, Best Practices in Professional Networking, led by Ms. Jarnay R.B. Harris. So we're going to have each speaker present, then we'll network. They'll be at their tables in the back. Everyone stop by, ask them questions, and we'll just make this a great little, like informal networking session. But I want them all to at least tell you a little bit about themselves at the podium before we get things going. So at this time, I would like to introduce our Vice President, who will kick off the introductions. Vice President Kimberly Neely Dubuclay. And she's going to tell us her story also.
Thank you, President Steele. Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to very quickly tell you how I ended up here, and then most importantly, what we do here, because most people in Cook County, most people in the city of Chicago don't know what the heck we do. I take that back. Probably most people in this room know because they're here, but outside of this room, most people don't know. So every time you flush your toilet or run a load of dishwasher, or run a load in your dishwasher, do a load of clothing in your washing machine, that water goes down the drain. We take that water, we recycle it, and we clean it to make sure it doesn't make its way back into our fresh water supply, which comes from Lake Michigan. Very good. I like to throw out this statistic that the Great Lakes, that we're just a couple of blocks away from, supplies 70% of the United States freshwater supply. So until I got to this agency, I didn't realize that it was really a public health and an environmental agency, but that's exactly what I do. We also make sure we build these huge tunnels to make sure that your homes, when they flood, the water doesn't go into your homes, but instead comes into our tunnels. And on that note, I grew up on the south side of Chicago in a home that flooded nearly every time it rained, so I'm very familiar with flooding homes. And we didn't know what to do, we didn't know who to call, so we would just scoop the sludge out of our basement and just keep it moving, and then started to put our belongings on top of pallets. So I've had experience with flooding, and I also used to swim in Lake Michigan as a kid off the point on 55th Street. And people would say to me, how can you swim in Lake Michigan? The water is so polluted. And I'd say, well, we're getting our drinking water from Lake Michigan. How can it be bad to swim in it? So I was very perplexed. Went off to college, got my MBA, ended up getting appointed to be a state representative, where I became enmeshed with the Environmental Caucus and actually won an award because I voted with the Environmental Caucus 100%. So I was very much into the environment and recycling and renewable energy. Worked for the Park District, continued that career, and decided to run for office, and for this particular office, when a former president started to remove legislation that had been in place for decades through Democrats and Republicans to protect our water and our environment. So when that happened, and I saw how it could affect our future, I decided to run for MWRD, and that's how I'm here. So this is my first term as vice president and my second term as a commissioner. I've been here since 2018. So that's my story. At this time, I'd like to introduce Darlene Lacazio. Darlene has served as the district's Director of Procurement and Materials and Management since 1994, and she is our first female director of that department. So please, let's welcome Darlene.
Oh, their keyboard? Okay, sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Women's History Month networking event at the MWRD. I am Darlene Locascio, and I'm the Director of Procurement and Materials Management. I would like to start off by saying that the MWRD has been a strong leader in government, employing and empowering women in leadership roles. Just look at our board. We have 9 members. 6 of them are women. Also a total of 13 director and officer positions at the MWRD, and 9 of them are held by women. Each of them in the success of the MWRD's fulfillment of its mission. Procurement and Materials Management Department is responsible to procure all construction, goods, services required by the district's operation in a free, open, equitable, competitive bidding process in accordance with the Illinois statute known as the Purchasing Act. As a supporter of the district's strategic plan, the Procurement and Materials Management Department engages with the community to position the MWRD as a critical community asset and to ensure that the MWRD is a responsive neighbor and an inclusive business partner. What does the MWRD buy? As you can see, the largest portion of spend is the construction at 53%, and the next is maintenance, repairs, and services at 24%. The maintenance and services portion is to support our large infrastructure. How do I get notified of these opportunities? The best place to get notified of these opportunities is our website. It's at MWRD.org under Doing Business, Procurement Materials, and Management. We also have information on there for our vendor application form, our contract announcements, our bid opening results, contracts under review, and contracts that have been awarded for the past 5 years. I'm just going to show you first our vendor application form. This is just a portion of it. I couldn't get it all on the screen. But if you start this process, you will be given a vendor number, and you'll be notified that you are a vendor at the MWRD. This is probably the most important screen of all on our website. And this tells us all the actual contracts that are available. It tells you general information. It gives you the bidding documents. It gives you invitations to bid. We also have, if you could see in the part there where it says view questions and answers, you could ask any questions and that questions on any of these contract documents, and they will be answered there, either in the form of an addendum or a response on the screen that everyone could see. The last column, too, is our plan holders list. This gives you a listing of all the companies that have picked up contracts and contract documents, and gives you a source that you could go to that of people that are interested. If you're a subcontractor, you'd be able to contact them and say, I see you're interested in bidding on this. Can I be a sub for that particular project? So again, this is what's on our website right now. These are the opportunities that are available. I also, I talked about the plan holders list. This is the way the plan holders list is set up. Anybody could get that. You get the name of the company, the address, the phone number, or the fax number that they have listed on their documents. We are updating that for emails. So, my last slide here about upcoming opportunities. We have maintenance and repairs. I just gave a few of the highlights of contracts, a little clearer view. Some furnish and deliver contracts that are out. And our big capital improvement project that is worth $69 million is the Edison Creek Channel improvements. I understand challenges women face in balancing work life with home life. Finding the time to succeed at work, take care of our families, take care of yourself, and the time to do little and extra little things that bring individual joy to ourselves, like donating your time to others in need or traveling or hobbies is very challenging. The stress of today's world are constant for women, and balancing can be very difficult. Sometimes in that endeavor, you need to reach out and ask for help, and it's okay to ask for help. Time is a precious commodity, and the MWRD understands these challenges. That's why we're here to offer ways to do business with the district on your time. And lastly, the big stress relief, we pay on time. Thank you again for this opportunity to address you today, and I will be back at the tables if you have any questions on how to do business with the district. Thank you.
Thank you, President Steele, for hosting a great event here today. And thank you for throwing me under the bus and inviting me to come up to speak without my readers. Our next speaker is a Village of Matson trustee and worked for Citibank for 37 years. She has extensive experience with credit management and bank branching. She is also ordained in ministry by New Faith Baptist Church International. Welcome, Reverend Robbie Craig.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It is a pleasure to be here for this women's event. I worked for Citibank, as she indicated, for 37 years. And I love doing credit. What I loved most was that I got the opportunity to go across the city and across the suburbs to do financial literacy. And so today, I just want to give you just a couple of pointers on financial literacy. But first, I have to apologize for not honoring home rules and saying thank you for inviting me here, President Steele, and all the commissioners that are here, and all the guests that are here. You know, dealing with money is sometimes very awkward and sometimes very hard. And as I go around and do seminars, people are usually so quiet when you talk about money because they think you're going to call on them. They think you're going to make them say something about their own finances. I'm not going to call on anybody today. Maybe just one person. My husband's in the room. I can pick on him all the time, right? But one of the things that we have to learn when we're dealing with money, regardless of where you are, is what your interpretation of the value of money is. And so people ask me that all the time when I say, what is your interpretation of the value of money? And they want to know, what do you mean? Because depending on your interpretation of the value of money, it's going to determine how you use money. So is your money that you want to build a legacy for family, for future generations? Is your legacy that you want, is your value of money, it's just something that I have to spend, shop till you drop? Is the value of my money something that I need in terms of purchasing a home, buying a car? All of those require different skills in terms of how you will use your money. And so once you interpret the value, then you know how you're going to utilize your particular money. So some of the key things that you have to think about when you think about money is, first, you have to learn how to budget money. Now, every time I'm in a seminar, people always frown on budgeting money. Everybody in here is in a corporate setting. All of you go by budgets. Nobody can spend money without a budget. And so that goes for your home as well as your corporate setting, because you need to know how to plan, how to use your money in your home environment. And it's not just you. It takes the entire family. I was just telling one of the participants earlier, when my daughter was in high school, I think she joined every activity that the school could offer. Every activity costs money. And so unless she understands what this is going to cost or what we have to give up, then we won't know how we're going to budget for all these different things. So that is very important when you're considering how you're going to handle money. The other things that you have to think about, what is important to you? Because all of us talk about retirement. I've been retired 10 years. My husband has been retired 15 years. And so we had to understand, how do we want to live in retirement? That's part of that budget. And thank God, only 20% of our income during retirement has to go to pay for any type of bills. And that's something that I just leave out there because the interest rate is low and it could be paid off. But that's something that we have to choose to do on a regular basis in determining how we're going to, the value of money and what's important to us. Some of the main things that we consider when we think about our cash are some of the things that you have to list down. You have to put down what's important to you and what's your goal. And key for us is how we help our community, how we give to our church, how we're available for our family, and how many vacations that we can take per year. Those are like the top 5 on our list. But that's very important to us. And so what we have learned to do is live below our means. Most people live above their means. So you have to learn to live what's important to you in terms of value of money. Now, I didn't always start out that way. I worked downtown in Water Tower Place. God help me. I worked in Water Tower Place. And I can tell you, in 1990, I was buying dresses that cost $800 in 1990. Now, $800 can last me a couple of years because it's going to be on sale. It's going to be the same quality. I'm going to look good, but I'm not going to pay that type of money. You have to determine the value of money for you. So some of the other things that you have to look at is your income and expenses. What's my income? What can I afford? I can't look at President Steele and say, I can do the same things that she does, because we're not in the same income category. I'm retired. And so we look at people and we try to live like someone else lives when we're not in that category. We watch TV. It moves us all the time. They market to us. They have all this stuff for us to buy on television. And yet we buy it because it sounds good, and half of it we don't use or don't need. We have to learn how to dismiss some of the stuff that we see that's coming at us to purchase. Now, I have my issues just like everybody else, because I told them, me and my husband, we need to have an intervention for Dunkin' Donuts. I'm telling you, that's our breakfast, that's our lunch, that's our dinner. After church, my grandson is saying, are we going to Dunkin' today? And you're absolutely right. People want to take us to breakfast. I'm like, that means we would miss Dunkin' Donuts. We really do need an intervention. But again, you determine what's important to you. And then you have to look at, what can I do to supplement my income if it is tight or if it is short? Most people, what we learned during the pandemic, there were more home businesses started during the pandemic than ever before. So there are a lot of things that we can do to supplement our income that we already know how to do. But when times get hard, that's when we look at them. What we should be doing is looking at what we can do now so we can make times better in the future and be ready to, maybe if we leave that job, what are we going to live off of? We have to put together a spending plan. Every year in October, me and my husband, we sit down and we look at what is next year going to be like. How many birthday gifts? We're in a big church. I told them we can only give gifts to maybe 5 people. I can't go to all the weddings. I can't go to all the birthday parties. I can't go to all the events because all those things are costly. And I'm okay with saying no. And if you don't like that I said no, I really apologize. But it's okay to say no. People do things even when they're uncomfortable because they feel guilty. You cannot let guilt spend your money for you. You have to make a determination of what you can do, and that's what you do. You have your savings goals. At my church, I've taught people how to save. You know that you can save $1 a week and increase it every week. First week $1, second week $2. And by the time you get to the end of the year, when you're at $52, you're at $1,153. If you saved $100 a month, which most people cannot come up with, you're only at you're at $1,200. You're at $1,500 if you do $1 a week and do it for the 52 weeks straight, and increase it by $1 each week. I've done that for so long that now I think my weekly is now up to $115. I keep doing it because once you get in a habit and you're disciplined, you can continue to do those things. Managing your debt and credit is imperative. Your credit score is that's where you tell a company who you are. They rate you based on your credit score because that tells you your integrity, whether or not you pay your bills, whether or not you don't pay your bills. And we know that all of us run into circumstances at times when that is difficult, but making sure that your credit score works for you, that means that you have power with any organization that you walk into, whether or not you're a small business or an individual. It speaks to the power that you have when you're negotiating. That is imperative. A lot of times, people look at it, somebody was saying something about credit. I was an underwriter for 15 years at Citibank. I worked there 37 years. I know credit. I've underwritten unsecured up to loans, secured loans, and business loans. We don't want the clothes that you bought back. We don't want the car back. We don't want the house back. We don't want none of it back. It does not do anything for us. But what people don't realize is that you can negotiate with a bank. They'd rather negotiate with you and get something rather than to have to write something off. But the biggest thing that people fear is the shame. If you do some of the things that I talked about today, you'll be amazed to how much better your life will be and how much simpler it will be in managing your finances and your debt and your credit. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Robbie Craig. I have made some mental notes. I am not buying any more shoes. So at this time, I would like to share my story and also introduce our next speaker, Mr. Rich Martinez, Jr. So a little bit about me, and I'll be very brief. First, I was born the daughter of immigrant parents, and I think for me that's a very important part of my upbringing, of my leadership development, because it forms how I move through the world, trying to make sure that we have representation and that we have policies that advocate for people that have been largely underrepresented. At age 23, I decided to run for office. I was a little crazy. Apparently, I still am. It was really a life-changing opportunity to serve my local community at the municipal level. I think it's important to jump into that seat, right? I think for me, it was really, as I was making that decision, I remember hearing from a woman mayor sitting in a panel full of men, and she said, you know, when you ask women to run for office, they have a list of reasons why they cannot run. And I recognized myself in that message, and that was my aha moment, as Oprah would say. And I realized, you know what, I don't want to be that kind of woman. I want to be able to find the reasons of why I can and how I can. And so I did. And I was elected there for 12 years. I decided to run for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District in 2020. And I find this organization to really be at the crossroads of so many important issues that impact us today, whether it's environmental justice or climate change, infrastructure, workforce development, equity. All of these things are impacting our society on a day-to-day basis, and we deal with it. We deal with the stormwater management and we deal with the sewage treatment, but all of those other items that I just listed, they're part of what we do with our about 2,000 staff. So I appreciate being here. Thank you so much, President Steele, staff, and fellow commissioners. And with that, I'd like to introduce Rich Martinez, who is the Acting Diversity Administrator for the MWRD. He has been with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District 28 years. He's worked in government for 28 years with experience at the City of Chicago, the State of Illinois, and Cook County. Welcome, Rich.
Good afternoon, or is it evening? It's still afternoon. It's an honor to celebrate Women's History. Once again, my name is Rich Martinez, Acting Diversity Administrator. So I'm going to say one more time, it's an honor to celebrate Women's History. Can we get a hand clap for that? Diversity section, we have 5 women on our staff, and I want to acknowledge 2 of our diversity officers who are present with us, PJ Spencer over to my right, and Weedy Pollard over to my left. Glad to have them with us here. The diversity section works to apply women business enterprise goals to district contracts via our affirmative action ordinance revised Appendix D, as well as ensuring that female apprentice hours are applied to our construction contracts. Sometimes that gets lost. We do have women working as apprentices on our district contracts. Diversity also works with several women business organizations, such as the Federation of Women Contractors. I don't know if we have a representative here tonight or not, as well as Women's Business Development Center. We have some representation there. Welcome, welcome. Women's Construction Owners and Executives, and the National Association of Women Business. We have some vendor packets in the back, and when I'm done, I'll be at the back table if anyone wants information on doing business at MWRD as a women-owned business. On a personal note, I have a story too. I'm grateful and thankful for the women that have impacted my life, including my paternal great-grandmother who immigrated from Mexico, my maternal great-grandmother who immigrated from Poland, my mother, who raised me as a single mom, my wife of 26 years, who is an educator, and we have collectively raised our three daughters, one of whom currently serves our country in the military. So, oh boy. All right. So with that, we want to say thank you to all, and we salute all of you for being trailblazers and for making history. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Marcelino Garcia, Chairman of Finance here at the district. Thank you all for being here. Rich, you stole my thunder. I was going to say my story is about my mother, who, even though she was a housewife, in all the good ways, she forced me to be better. And I'm here partially because of her, because if it wasn't her putting me down that path and ensuring that I was a good child, which was hard at times, I wouldn't be here. But I also want to thank my grandmother, her mother, who was the one who instilled in me a passion for traveling, for learning other cultures, and for experiencing the world. As a boy from Puerto Rico, being here in Chicago, I've been able to be the man who I am because of those two women. So thank you for indulging me on a little bit about that. I would like to introduce Reverend Angela Swain, who is our next presenter. She's an expert in organizational behavior and known as the Trifecta Business Coach. Oh, I need one of those. She served as a researcher and moderator for the Emotional Intelligence Leadership Institute in Chicago. Currently, she is the director of the Office of Human Dignity and Solidarity with the Archdiocese of Chicago. Welcome, Reverend Swain.
I'm just going to clean up a little bit. Don't start my time now, Madam President. You know, I come from Father Flager's church. We take a long time. So I had a mentor in my doctoral program who said he studied the relationship between work-life balance, and he found out one thing during those 5 years. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And so as an organizational psychologist, I'm often asked the question, how do I manage my time well? Right? Particularly since we're post-COVID, maybe, maybe not, that's really a challenge for people, right? People are working from home. They're doing emails at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10:30. I'm guilty of that. And so one thing I really like about this slide is that it shows, whether it's true or not, it shows our narrative of how we were on the left before COVID and on the right after COVID. Right? If we were in a classroom setting, I am a professor, so if we were in a classroom setting, I go around and get your take on the differences, but you can see on the left, the sun is shining, it's cloudy, but it's a beautiful day. She seems to be organized, she's getting work done, even the cat is at her feet. The photo on the right is quite different. There's not only a cloud, but it's thunder, right? Maybe lightning. The cat is gone. Papers everywhere, and she's, in one word, stressed. Stress is defined by researchers as a physical, mental, or emotional response to events that cause bodily or mental tension. Simply put, stress is any outside event that has an effect on the body or the mind. So what causes workplace stress? Too many hours or too much time at work, poor working environments, I know that's not here, Madam President, uncomfortable settings or equipment that doesn't work well, maybe it's noisy, co-workers, arguments, judgmental staff, or maybe you're worried. You feel unwanted and that you just don't belong anymore. The three categories that symptoms fall under: physical, psychological, and behavioral. So what are some physical symptoms? Your extremities are very cold: cold hands, cold feet, cold ears. Psychological symptoms can include having thoughts of, you just can't do this job anymore. You're ready to give up. It's too demanding. I'm just not a good fit. Behavioral symptoms may include, I have 42 emails and not today. Or maybe I have 500 emails. I just got back from vacation. I have to stop and just do me. So how are we groomed or taught to manage workplace stress? 4 basic things: effective communication with your team, talk to family, friends, coworkers, address the problem head on, be transparent, and the myth, in my opinion, work-life balance. This is my approach to stress. Now I'm gonna tell you my story real quick. And several of my husband's peers are in the room, and I'm gonna tell my business anyway. So it's 1997, and I had just graduated from college. No, 96, I had just graduated from college, and I was at a pre-med program at Case Western. And one morning, I scratched or something, and I couldn't feel the right side of my body. I called my mother frantically, and she said, "You're coming home next week, just wait till you get home." I went to my doctor, she's still my doctor today, and she said, "You know what, based on your symptoms, I think you have MS." I was like, what? I expect her to say, lose some weight, take a multivitamin, drink water, eat a vegetable, something. MS? My girlfriend's mom had MS, and she was in a wheelchair. It's very scary for me. So I was diagnosed with MS a couple months after our second son was born, October of 2002. And from that moment on, I was forced to understand the effects of stress because I lived it with 3 children, a demanding spouse, caregiving for my mom, his parents. They all died within 22 months of each other very recently. I can't do this alone. But what I learned is it wasn't about those 4 things: work-life balance, communication, et cetera. Those are helpful. But what really helped me manage my time being in 4 grad programs and doing all those other things I mentioned is my perspective regarding time. So if you look up here, level 1 is, so these are 7 viewpoints, not mine, Dr. Bruce Schneider. I have to give credit where credit is due. So there's 7 viewpoints or perspectives regarding time. 1, time is continually working against me. I am at the mercy of time. Level 2, time is something that I continually fight against, right? So try to imagine these not hierarchical, right? You're like, I want to get to level 7. Try not to think of them hierarchical, but try to think of them as level 1 through level 7. Okay? Level 3, time is a natural part of life, and although it's limited, I can and will develop effective strategies to manage it. A little different than levels 1 through 3, right? Levels 1 through 3, a lot of draining energy. 5 through 7, more anabolic energy. Level 4, I want to use my time to make sure I make the greatest contribution in the time I have. Level 5, the way I use my time is up to me. I can relax and do nothing, or I can create and do something exciting. It's completely my choice. Time is a gift. Level 6, time stands still for me whenever I'm completely focused on the experience itself. Time is endless. And finally, level 7, time is a linear illusion created in the human experience to measure what appears to be limited. Level 1, very draining energy. 5 through 7, very energizing. There's some other points to consider when we think about stress and work-life balance. Where does multitasking come in when you're trying to manage your time? Where does proper sleep? Where does that have its place? Where is that health and wellness? How are you eating? How are you caring for yourself? Are you taking vitamins? Are you going to the doctor regularly? Your to-do list. I don't know about you, but my to-do list is never ending. In a day, I may have 30 things on my list, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I only got to 5, right? Where does that fit into your perception or conception of time? And I will be remiss if I end this without thanking Madam President, thanking Michael Harris for the invitation. It's indeed a pleasure and honor to be in the midst of such wonderful, amazing people, women in particular. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Angela. I appreciate that. I hadn't thought about time like that. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Darnay R.B. Harris. Our presenter is a co-founder and chief strategy officer of the Chicago-based marketing firm Legacy Strategies. Ms. Darnay R.B. Harris works with leaders in public service and purpose-driven entrepreneurs to create awe-inspiring visuals and strategic messaging to amplify their mission, strengthen meaningful relationships with their online communities, and ultimately help cement their legacy through providing sophisticated marketing and communication services. Welcome, Darnay.
All right. Good afternoon or early evening to everyone. How do we cement women's history, their legacies? How? One way is through developing and disseminating marketing and visual communications, through the brands we create, through the speeches we write, the workshops we facilitate, the content we publish on social media, and the press appearances we attend. That is what I do. That is what we are all here to do today. As the host stated so graciously, my name is Darnay Harris, co-founder and chief strategy officer of Legacy Strategies marketing firm. You guys heard majority of what I do, but I'll give another spin on it. My team and I, we work with leaders and public service people and purpose-driven entrepreneurs to develop strategic messaging and awe-inspiring visuals that amplify their mission, plus garner meaningful connections with their communities. Madam President Carrie K. Steele, members of the Board of Commissioners, Executive Director Brian Perkovich in his absence, and staff. Thank you all for the invitation today. I'm excited to be here to participate in this year's Women History Month program. As the last speaker stated, I will close us, as the last speaker today, everybody. I will close us out by discussing the best practices in networking today. Especially now that we're post-COVID and we're post back-to-back Zoom meetings all day, fingers crossed. Okay, everybody, so let's pull into focus 3 buckets, okay? Today we're going to talk about the power of preparation, the power of first impressions, and the power of solidifying a meaningful connection. Now, the first bucket of preparation. You guys, the first thing I did when I came up here was share my elevator pitch for the second time. Out of the gate, my goal was to give you a chance to learn who I am, what I do, who do I work with, and my why. Everyone in the room, no matter your industry, it is advantageous for us to have a 60-second or less elevator pitch at the ready. So today I want to share with you guys the Legacy Strategies elevator pitch formula. At this time, I'm not sure if you guys have it in your hand, but do please refer to the handout worksheet that was given to you. And if time permits, I'd love for one or more of you to use this formula and share your newly crafted elevator pitch with me later in the event. So the formula I'll wait till everyone has it. All right, guys. To begin, one, we want to engage with a thought-provoking statement. Imagery is key. Inspire curiosity. Second, and most importantly, who are you? What do you do? What's your name? What professional title do you go by? Third, where do you work? Share your expertise and your name and where and like I said, where you work. Lastly, what is your mission? How does it relate to them, to your audience? All right, got it. Amazing. So I am going to circle back, like I mentioned, to work on a one-on-one basis with everyone to share, to see your input and your spin on it. So we got the power of preparation out the way. Now let's get into the power of first impressions. Now, before any of you guys enter a room with the intent to network, remember the golden rules of networking, such as body language. And of course, these golden rules are not something that you guys haven't heard before. Consider this a refresher. A firm handshake and eye contact. It still goes a very long way. Those two nonverbals are essentially, they're establishing trustworthiness, credibility. They are letting that person know that you are present with them in this moment. Have you ever had someone shake your hand and they're like looking away? Like that doesn't feel too great, nor is it encouraging connection. Tonality. Speak up, speak clearly. Have you ever had a moment where someone asks you, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Ensure your listener hears you the first time. Granted, in certain environments where the music is glaring, good luck to your eardrum. And you guys, the last element of first impressions is remember people's names. Ask their name, repeat it, and ask if you pronounced it correctly, and better yet, actually just have a conversation about their names. People like hearing their given names. It promotes individuality, and it's also familiar to their ears. Who does not like familiarity? It makes us feel safe. Now, this wraps the second bucket. Lastly, number 3, which is the final golden rule, and it needed its own bucket because we have some unpacking to do. So we're going to get into the power of a meaningful connection, the power of solidifying a meaningful connection. It is essential that you have at least one networking goal in mind. Ultimately, an overarching goal could be to make a new, exciting, and a genuine connection. One that's not necessarily transactional, one that's not, a means to an end. I'm talking about natural human connection. Because we must do that. We could argue the quality of our mental health depends on it. After all, the stars have aligned where you and 1 out of 7+ billion people get to talk each other's ear off, only for the best of causes, right? The ones that you care about. When establishing meaningful connections, consider the following. As I've been doing the whole time, leaning in. You lean in. You get curious and enthusiastic about learning what they're up to and their latest endeavors, the highs and lows and everything else in between. So the additional pieces are, my paper's got a little jumbled here. You guys find the synergy between their mission and yours. You could be the missing link, and you could, help them access more clarity, more conviction on their journey. Third element, offer your lowest hanging fruit support. Would you like to recommend a podcast about a topic or their interest? Any avid podcasters out there? Raise my hand. Do you want to invite them to an upcoming event that you're hosting? Do you want to share a profound mindset, shifting article, or a quote? It costs nothing, you guys, for us to encourage, empower, and inspire someone on their journey. Lastly, and one of the key pieces in this is you have to plan to follow up. Exchange the contact information. Follow each other on social media. Send an email the next day or within 3 days. Call or schedule that lunch meeting. Whatever you do, follow up, everybody. So just to quickly recap, when we're thinking about best practices in networking, you want to consider the power of preparation, the power of first impressions, the power of solidifying a meaningful connection. Everybody, again, I'm Jarnay Harris, co-founder and chief strategy officer of Legacy Strategies. Thank you for your attention today. My mouth is dry. I was the last presenter, so all my energy, I'm like, okay, am I up yet? But it's been an honor, and I'd be remiss to acknowledge the women in the room whose shoulders I stand on, and thank you all for your time. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Everyone give Jarnay Harris a round of applause one more time. Jarnay, great job. So I'm going to lean in. And I think that's important, or I thank you, because we have somewhat lost our younger generation has lost the importance of networking. So it's very important that let's try to pass on that information, because it is nothing like that face-to-face and going out and meeting people and shaking their hand and sharing your information. So guess what? That's what we're going to practice right now. What we're going to do now. First, I thank all the presenters. We have allotted time now for each presenter to go to their station in the back of the room. They each have an assigned table. And what we're hoping is that we have a lot of new business owners in the room, established business owners in the room. We're hoping that you all can not only introduce yourselves to each other, network, but also visit the tables and ask questions. I'm sure you might have heard someone present and there was something you were thinking that, I want to follow up on that a little more. Well, this is definitely your opportunity to do so. So what I would like to do now is, before all the presenters go to their tables, if you can all come up here one more time, we're going to take a group photo with the commissioners and give all of you your thank you tokens. And while they're coming up, can everyone in the room just give them one more round of applause to show them that we're so thankful for their participation?